What's up, everyone, and welcome back for another week of NFL predictions. I'm not sure when this is going to go up because right after I record this, I'm going out to dinner, so it might actually go up after the Thursday game. I'm not sure. I will not be able to set all of that because I probably won't be able to upload it. But I wanted to get this recorded before the game started, just as a personal thing. I know that it won't really matter to you guys anyway because it's just one game. But here we go. We are going to go game by game, and I have my picks up on the board as well as what the records would be. I actually want to check what I went last week because, so I went 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 and 1, 6 and 1, 6 and 2, 6 and 3. I think, 6 and 3. 7 and 3, 8 and 3, 9 and 3. I think I picked the Seahawks to win this one, so 9 and 4, 10 and 4, 11 and 4. I'm pretty sure, and 12. So I went like 12 and 4. I went somewhere between 10 and 6 and 12 and 4. There's a couple picks that I'm iffy on, so I'll count as both ways. So somewhere between, it's either 10 and 6, 11 and 5, or 12 and 4. A lot better of a week than the first week. The first week's super random. Usually you can tell like what teams are gonna win by the second week, and I made a couple of big mistakes in week 2. I picked against the team who got a win they didn't deserve, against the team who didn't win a game they probably deserved to win, a team that needed a win versus a team that just had a big win. And usually it's always the team that needs the win to pick that up. And I picked against the Falcons, but I probably should have picked them in retrospect. And I think I overestimated how good the Jaguars are based on their performance against Green Bay, because Green Bay's secondary is not very good, as we saw on the Sunday night game against the Vikings. And that's really the reason that the Jaguars kind of hung around, and their defense is still atrocious despite having an alleged defensive coach. So other than that, I'm pretty sure I got most of these right. The Seahawks-Rams thing, the Rams, just I don't know what it is with them. They just always play the Seahawks. I should stop picking against them when they play the Seahawks, even though they're a very inferior team. I heard a lot of bad things about the weather there, though. So the rest of these games are just kind of So let's move on. So I had the Patriots beating the Texans. The line on that is 1. I don't even think it's that close. I don't know why. How is the line that close is my question. I think that the Patriots are a much better team than the Texans. I guess if you look at records, they're both 2-0, but I think that the Patriots far outclass the Texans. I'm not really worried about Jacoby Brissett being the starting Patriots quarterback because I think their defense is going to step up big time, and the Texans are not really ready for a team like the Patriots. That's just my opinion. So I don't think they're going to cover that one. The Raiders, well, actually, I'll go in the order that I have the lines written down. But you'll see up on screen what my picks for all these are. Arizona at Buffalo. Buffalo's terrible. I don't know what they thought firing Greg Roman was going to solve, although I think it might have more to do with the threat of Rex Ryan having been replaced by him anyway. So I'm going to pick Arizona to win that one. Buffalo's not very good. The line's 3.5. I don't think Buffalo covers. I think it's at least a touchdown, or at least a 4-point game. Denver at Cincinnati. Cincinnati's favored by 3. I think Denver's going to win this one outright. Better defense. The Bengals' offensive line has been shaky so far this season. And the one win that they got, they really didn't deserve, I don't think, in retrospect. They got a couple of things to break their way. And if that game is played again, I bet the Jets would win it. But they didn't play very good against Pittsburgh last week. They played okay defensively. They got a couple of good interceptions and a few nice defensive plays from their corners. But I don't think the Bengals are a very good team, and I'm on record saying that I didn't think they would even make the playoffs this year. So definitely going to take Denver in that game to start out 3-0. Detroit at Green Bay. I'm going to take Green Bay in this one. They kind of had a rough time the other night, but I think that the Minnesota defense is probably one of the three best defenses in the league. I don't think Detroit's defense is nearly that good, and I think that outside of Darius Slay, there's not really a lot of strong cornerback play, and I think that Green Bay's receivers will have a little bit of an easier time getting open. So I'm going to take them. Line 7, I could see Detroit covering, but I don't think that they will. I think the line at 7 is exactly right. I think it'll be a one-touchdown game. Tennessee hosting Oakland. Tennessee's favored in this game. I'm going to pick Oakland to win outright. No particular reason on that one. I just think Oakland's a more talented team. Tennessee got a big win last week, but that was against a very poorly coached Lions team. And I'm not saying that Oakland has the greatest coaching staff in the world. Jack Del Rio is definitely not one of the greatest head coaches in this league, but he is much more competent than Jim Caldwell and his staff. So I'm definitely going to be taking Oakland in that game, and obviously they would cover the spread by winning. Cleveland at Miami. I'm going to take this as Miami's first win of the year. They're favored by 9.5. I'd watch this line, and I'd be very wary if I was gambling on it. But I'm definitely going to take Miami to win, but I think it will be a 7 or less point game. And the line is at minus 9.5. So I definitely think Cleveland covers that, although it's totally feasible that they don't. They are not a very good team. But the Dolphins aren't a very good team either. We got Washington at the New York Giants, and I really struggle making a pick. Not because of the talent discrepancy, because the Giants are a much better team than the Redskins, let's be honest. But the Redskins have yet to get a stupid win they don't deserve, like they got a couple of last year. And the Giants really have yet to have their signature Giant loss where Eli Manning just sucks and the defense plays like crap all day. So I was definitely tempted to take the Redskins because that's an offense that can take advantage of a sloppy defensive performance that I think that even though Coughlin's not coaching this team anymore, the Giants are still definitely capable of. But I'm going to take the Giants on this one. It's a safer pick. And they're just a much better team than Washington defensively, and their offense is comparable. I'd say even maybe better than Washington's in terms of the weapons they have. So maybe Sands their tight end position because the Giants don't really have anything there. And I don't know if Jordan Reed's been playing because I haven't really been looking at Redskins stats, but he's one of the 5 best tight ends in the league when he does play. Minnesota at Carolina. I was very tempted to take Minnesota in this game, but I think they are a little too banged up, and I think that this secondary maybe isn't the greatest challenge for Sam Bradford, but they can just spread out all game and rush the passer because what threat is Matt Asiata out of the backfield or Jerick McKinnon? I haven't really checked who's going to start. The line's 7. I definitely think that it'll probably be a 7-point game, but I'm not going to take that. I'm going to say the Minnesota covers, or it's exactly what the line is. Definitely going to be a good defensive matchup. In the last 1 o'clock game, we got Baltimore at Jacksonville. I've completely turned on Jacksonville since I think I picked them to win I picked them to win last week, but I don't believe I picked them to win the first week. But Baltimore, going to be probably the softest 3-0 in NFL history. It says that I have them at 2-1, but they, I don't see them. Yeah, I picked the Jaguars on here. I meant to pick the Ravens. I think the Ravens are a good team. They're not probably a great team, but they are good enough to beat these bad teams that they played so far in the season. They're going to be a soft 3-0. Line's 1.5. I think that the Jaguars have a chance to cover, but I think it'll be like a 2 or 3 point game in the end. San Francisco at Seattle. I'm going to take Seattle in this one. I think that the line is a little too high, minus 9.5. Seattle has not won a game by that much, or has not really scored that much. They have 1 offensive touchdown in their first 2 games. I think they have like 21, or not even 21, because I was thinking they scored 9 against the Rams, but they only scored 3. So they have like, 15 points all season. I'm not going to trust that Seattle's going to be able to put points on the board, but I do think this will be a good defensive battle. I'm going to take San Francisco to cover, but I think Seattle wins the game. LA visiting Tampa Bay. I could probably go to this game if I wanted to, but that sounds terrible since I live in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's favored by 5.5. I think that they're going to thrash the Rams. I think that Tampa Bay's defense is actually really good. They just got unfortunate last week, an unfortunate matchup, and they got killed. But I think their defense is going to surprise some people. I think that they're a pretty good team, and I'm not like, I know a lot of people have said that this season, but I'm not saying it in a way like the super bandwagon. I just think that a lot of people are going to underestimate the Tampa Bay defense. They're a little bit better than maybe some would think, just based on the roster. They play a very good defensive scheme, and I really like their new coach. I think that outside of some weird decisions that he made in the second half of last game, like not taking his starters out when they were down by 30 after Jameis Winston had thrown 4 interceptions, was very strange. But I think that they have a lot of offensive potential. Their defense is a lot better than maybe they look on paper, just from what I've seen so far. San Diego visiting Indy. I don't really actually know who I took in this game. Let me try to find it. I took the Colts in this game. I did take the Colts in this game. San Diego doesn't have a lot of weapons, but they are facing like their 3rd straight not good defense, and I'm gonna throw Kansas City in the category of not good because they played like crap the first week of the season, and they did tighten up in the second half, but they have no pass rush without Justin Houston, and you can definitely tell that secondary is missing something from the departure of Sean Smith, which is maybe not the greatest impact on Oakland so far. He has, I think, been benched already twice. But he is definitely, you can feel the impact on Kansas City's defense with his loss. and that defense is definitely taking a step back. So I'm going to take San Diego or Indianapolis in this game. I think that when it comes to the offense, Indianapolis will be able to get more out of their offense than the Chargers will out of there. Although I can say Melvin Gordon does look a lot better this year, and that offensive line is surprisingly good. I did not think that they would be this good. One of the main reasons I actually chose them to do them in Madden is because they had a huge problem with their offensive line. But then Sunday night game, and probably the first Sunday night game I'm going to be not watching. I skipped one late afternoon game. Pittsburgh at Philly. I think this is going to be the first rough Carson Wentz game. Pittsburgh's defense isn't like an elite defense by any means, but it's probably the first real NFL defense that Carson Wentz is going to be going up against. And I like some of the pieces that the Bears have, and they played them in Monday night and another game I haven't watched. I'm probably not going to watch any Monday night games this year. I'll have to look at the schedule, but they've all been horrendous so far, and this week's isn't much better. But, he hasn't really played a real defense. The Browns are punting the season, clearly. The Bears have good pieces, but overall their defense is not very good, and they're probably the worst team in football other than the Browns at this point, I'd say. They're just horrendous. So Carson Wentz has gone up against two pretty weak teams. Oh, I forgot to say the line on Indianapolis was 2.5. I don't think San Diego covers. I don't think it's a 2-point game. Back to Pittsburgh, Philly. I picked the Steelers to start out like winning their first 7 or 8 games because they have a very simplistic schedule in the first part of the season where they play a bunch of teams who they can shut down relatively decently offensively but move the ball on their defense. Is like they're able to move the ball offensively more than anything else. But definitely going to be taking... I think I skipped the game somewhere in here. I did. I skipped Kansas City Jets. We'll cover that last. Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. I'm going to be taking Pittsburgh in this game, but it's a 3.5 point spread, and I think that the way that Pittsburgh has played down to their opposition in recent years, that's a feasible spread for Philadelphia to cover, but I don't think they cover it. I can see it happening, but I'm going to bet against that, and I think Pittsburgh will win by at least 4 points. All right, so Jets, Kansas City. I meant to talk about this game earlier since it is one of the late games, actually, so that's nice. I like when... because I watch all the Jets games. I like when they play late or Thursday or Sunday or Monday because then I can just watch Red Zone for the 9 early games that they play because I can never pick just one to just watch. For the early games, there's way too many. But yeah, Jets, Kansas City. There's an argument to be made for the Jets. Great defensive line. Their corners have been playing kind of weak, but they definitely tightened up defensively in that second half of the Buffalo game. Thursday night games are always weird, and I like to remind people of this. Thursday night games are always weird. Weird shit always happens on Thursday night. Like, that game last week should not have been nearly as close as it was, but the Bills got 14 artificial points off of stupid deep touchdowns that the Jets were too fatigued to really cover because, they're playing 2 games in the span of 4 days. But anyway, the Jets, very good team. I think a lot of people are surprised at how good they are. I thought that they would be a pretty solid team coming into the season. They just have a rough start to the year. And I'm taking the Chiefs in this one regardless because I think that they definitely need a bounce back game after Houston. There's a totally feasible world where I could see Kansas City just losing this game. I think the real advantage is that they're at home. And the way that the spreads usually work is you pretty much get 3 points for playing at home. So Kansas City's favored by 3, so this is basically an even. If this was played on a neutral field, it would be basically the line is saying since you get 3 points for playing at home, Kansas City's favored by 3. If you're playing on a neutral field, this game is a very evenly matched game. I think the Chiefs will pull it out on top just because of the home field advantage. So I'm not going to pick the Jets to cover. I think it'll be an exactly 3-point game. I think they'll tie the spread. Sunday night game, Chicago at Dallas. Probably the first Sunday night game I'm going to be skipping all year. Dallas is favored by 7. I think it'll be like a 14-point game. Chicago's terrible. They're starting Brian Hoyer this week. Definitely not a lot to like about Chicago. And there's quite a bit to like about Dallas. They had a pretty good performance last week. And they probably should have won game 1 of the season as well. But they had the age-old conundrum of somebody didn't want to get out of bounds at the end of the game. So they probably got screwed over by that. Fun fact, as this came across my Twitter feed earlier, the only rookie quarterback to start this season, or first year starting quarterback to lose this season, has been Dak Prescott. Not funnily enough, the one that was probably the most hyped up in the preseason. But I think Dallas will win. I'm definitely going to take that. New Orleans hosting Atlanta. This is a terrible Monday night game again. They just, for the last 2 years, have been always terrible Monday night games. I don't really know what happened. Monday night used to actually be a good game. I definitely am not going to be tuning into this one. I usually try to watch all the primetime games. Like, I'm going to try to watch tonight's game, even if I don't watch it when it happens. At some point, I will try to watch this Thursday night game. But New Orleans, what is there to like about New Orleans and Atlanta, really? New Orleans is probably going to win this one. They're favored by 3. Atlanta can't play New Orleans. It seems like they just kill them. The Saints just, they have the Falcons number. Even when the Falcons were a good team back, 5-6 years ago. Maybe not even that long. 3 or 4 years ago when the Falcons were constantly in the playoffs. They always had trouble with the Saints, it seemed like. Even that year that the Saints were, 5-11 and didn't have Sean Payton. It's as an outside observer, maybe the record's not nearly that bad, but it also always seems like New Orleans kills Atlanta. New Orleans has a really good offense. Falcons have a really bad defense. I think that's a bad matchup. The Saints defense keeps losing people, but I think that Matt Ryan is kind of a little bit more mistake prone on that offense, especially against a team that he usually struggles against anyway. So definitely going to be taking New Orleans in that one. Line's 3. I'm going to take 7. I think it'll be a 1-score game. So that's going to do it for this week. Hopefully I have a pretty good record. I have a lot of home teams winning in the purely NFC games. I have a lot of home teams winning in general, and then get evened out. Let's see. There's 16 games. I had 5 road teams winning. So that means I think that the home teams are going to go 11-5 this week. And that's I can see a realistic scenario where every home team wins except the Bills. I think the Bills have no chance against the Cardinals. But other than that, I think every home team has potential to win this game, win their week 2 games. But I also think that every road team has a chance to win most of these games too. So really could go either way. All right, a lot of evenly matched games. Gonna be a good week, hopefully. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See you next week for more NFL predictions. Subscribe for more content. Do a lot of stuff on the channel. Want to do these NFL predictions. Want to do some preseason NBA stuff when that season rolls around. And I'm probably gonna do some postseason MLB stuff in the future too. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See you later.